Radiation has become an important factor to think about. Radiation is frightening. You're always exposed to some or other form of radiation. But why radiation is lethal to all living beings? And particularly, what type of radiation and how much of it would kill you? There are two types of radiations, non-ionizing and ionizing. You may call them as low energy and high energy radiation types. Non-ionizing radiation is a type which won't cause any harm to a living being. Think of a microwave. The heating of food actually happens due to the passing of microwaves all over it. But when you eat it, nothing happens to you at all. Generally, our mobile phones, laptops and Wi-Fi routers emit this kind of radiation. But what more frightening is the ionizing radiation, which have the capability to rip off the electrons from your atoms and cause genetic malfunction. Ionizing radiation is measured in sieverts. If you are exposed to more than 2 sieverts all at once, you would probably die shortly after that. But we are exposed to low levels of ionizing radiations all the time. Bananas, for example, are rich in potassium, and some of that potassium is radioactive. When you eat a banana, you are exposed to around 0.1 microsieverts. Since people eat bananas, we become radioactive too. So you are exposing to more radiation when you sleep next to someone than you sleep alone. But that's insignificant when compared to the natural background radiation of Earth, which is emitted by the rocks, soils, air and even from space. Generally it would vary from 0.1 to 0.2 microsieverts per hour, which would be equivalent of eating 2 bananas an hour. On the other hand, there are some places on Earth which have the significant amount of radiation exposure. Hiroshima. After 76 years from the nuclear blast, this city has the radiation exposure of 0.3 microsieverts per hour. This is where the uranium was discovered, and this is from where Marie Curie got her raw material. This mine has a radiation level of 1.7 microsieverts per hour. The doorknob. In lab of Marie Curie at Radium Institute Paris, the door which connects her lab and office has a knob which emits the radiation level of 1.5 microsieverts per hour. Trinity bomb site, where the world's first nuclear bomb was set off. The enormous heat generated during the test fused all the desert sand into a type of green glass named as trinitite. The radiation here is about 2 microsieverts an hour. Aeroplane. Yes, you could receive a radiation dosage of 3 microsieverts an hour when the aeroplane is at its cruising altitude. And even this much is also insignificant when compared to the upcoming ones. Reactor number 4, Chernobyl. This disaster happened nearly 34 years ago, but still the radiation levels are near to 5 microsieverts an hour. If you stayed there for 1 hour, you would receive a radiation dosage of 1 dental X-ray. Fukushima, Japan. The disaster happened in 2011, and just after the meltdown, the radioactive dust surrounded the city, forcing people to leave the town. The radiation level here is nearly 10 microsieverts per hour. The hospital at Chernobyl. This is where the firefighters were admitted after putting off the fire. Due to the radiation levels they are exposed to, the staff shifted the firemen to the basement of the hospital. And even now, after 34 years, the clothes and shoes of the firemen are radioactive with a radiation level of 1000 microsieverts an hour at some spots. If you stay there for a couple of hours, you would receive the annual dose of Earth background radiation. But it is also far less when compared to the CT scan, which would emit 7000 microsieverts an hour. That's 3 years worth of natural background radiation. An estimation says that the people at Fukushima will receive an additional 10,000 microsieverts over their lifetime due to the nuclear disaster. For comparison, US radiation workers are limited to maximum of 50,000 microsieverts per year. But that's less when compared to the another occupation, astronauts. An astronaut 6 months in a space station would receive 80,000 microsieverts of radiation. But not even they are exposed to higher levels of ionizing radiation. Then who are? The answer is lungs of a smoker. An average smoker would receive 160,000 microsieverts of radiation every year. That's due to the radioactive polonium and radioactive lead in the tobacco that they are smoking. Not only they are exposed to carcinogens and toxins, they also receive very high levels of ionizing radiation.